reading from St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 2, from verse 41 through to 52. Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when Jesus was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in the group of travellers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. After 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth, and was obedient to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in years, and in divine and human favour.
Well, Frank, I find that reading very encouraging. It really brings home the sort of humanity of Jesus and his parents. And as a parent of 3 boys, I can relate to that story of a child going missing and being very anxious.
Yeah, it certainly brings us back to the humanity, the real humanity of Jesus. I found that as I was reading this passage, trying to put some expression into it, thinking back to a time when it was the fashion to read without any expression, because it was all so holy. And yet, and we do a lot of that with Christmas too, don't we? And we've just come through Christmas, and it's very unreal. Even if we take away all the trappings and the busyness and the sort of hype of Christmas, a lot of it is still unreal. And yet this is so real. These are real parents
coping with a very real
child. But I'm also interested that they managed to go a whole day without noticing. They were obviously having a good time as well, chatting away with their friends. It was a great family outing. It's the sort of thing, you don't actually count properly on the bus.
Well, Jenny here at the cathedral was just saying this morning, when she was little, going on a family outing, and she was one of 4, and at one point the car drove off and she was left behind, and she saw the car down the street, suddenly realised, stop and come back and get her. So even with a small group, it can be done. We're all human.
I wonder if there's something here about the way that older people don't really expect children to have an opinion, or don't really listen to children. I'm trying to think what it was like for me as a 12-year-old. I'm sure I was very precocious. I remember I was head student or head boy of our little primary school, and as such was, quite an important person. And yet when I think now, as I work with children, I sometimes have to stop and say, hang on, listen carefully to what they're saying, because there's often a wisdom that's there. And you've had something like with your teaching.
Yes, with the choristers. The
The
choristers each week here have a session of Christian training, and often I'm surprised by a question or an insight that pops up, often from left field, completely unexpected, and it prompts the most wonderful discussion among all of us with some very deep insights. And I think often we can underestimate.
So perhaps, just to listen to children a bit more carefully. Of course, Jesus himself said, unless you become as children, and all that goes with it.
And when you were reading, the words that really struck me, and all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. Those words really leapt out at me, and it does remind us that often out of young mouths can come very wise things.
As a parent, if I could have my time over, I've got 3 children, they're all way beyond 12. there are other issues that come, challenges that come as the years go by. But I think I would like to be able to, if I had my time over, to be less anxious as a parent generally, and to allow children to have a bit more room, a bit more flexibility, a bit more intelligence, because it's through that I think that they actually do learn. But having said that, I know it's not very easy to be a non-anxious presence. It's a wonderful catchphrase, but not easy to do.
And there are always new challenges and new things that crop up as they grow, and we, as parents, we grow with them. In this holiday period now, after Christmas, you know, I think it's important that families do relax and take some time. I know that's not always easy. You know, there's still work and things that have to be done. But if it's possible to just relax into sort of being a family, that's quite important.
One wonderful mother that we got to know once had 11 children. We were walking along the beach with her, and there were 2 or 3 children, you know, big scrap going on, and she stood and laughed at them. And after a while they just stopped, because there was no fun in fighting when mum wasn't going to take it seriously. And I think there's a great lesson for us. And Mary should have learned that long ago.